Every year, millions of people promise themselves the same thing. Tomorrow, I'll finally start. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month, and somehow the work that should have taken a few hours has been hanging over your head for weeks. What's strange is that you know exactly what you should do. You know finishing the work will make you feel better. You know delaying it only makes things worse. So why do you keep doing it? Most people think the answer is simple. You're lazy. You lack discipline. But according to psychologists, that's almost completely wrong. Because procrastination isn't a failure of productivity. It's a survival instinct. Your brain isn't trying to ruin your future, it's trying to protect your present.
Part 1. Your brain thinks the task is dangerous. Imagine you're about to send an important email, or begin writing your thesis, or finally start the business you've been talking about for years. Objectively, none of these things are dangerous. They can't hurt you. But your brain doesn't react to facts. It reacts to feelings. Maybe the task feels overwhelming. Maybe you're afraid you'll fail. Maybe you're worried your work won't be good enough. Or maybe you simply don't know where to begin. To your brain, all of those emotions register as discomfort. And your brain has spent millions of years evolving to avoid discomfort whenever possible. Thousands of years ago, that instinct kept our ancestors alive. Today, it keeps us refreshing social media instead of opening a spreadsheet. The threat changed, the survival system didn't.
Part 2. The biggest myth about procrastination. Psychologist Timothy Pychyl has spent decades studying procrastination. His conclusion surprised even many researchers. Procrastination isn't a time management problem. It's an emotion management problem. Think about the last thing you avoided. Was the task actually difficult? Or was it the feeling attached to it? Maybe it made you anxious. Maybe it reminded you of how much work was left. Maybe it forced you to confront the possibility that your best effort still wouldn't be enough. The task wasn't what your brain wanted to escape. The feeling was. You aren't avoiding work. You're avoiding how the work makes you feel. Part 3. The Civil War inside your head. Inside your brain, two different systems are constantly competing. One is ancient, fast, emotional. Its only job is to keep you safe. The other is much newer, logical, patient. It plans for the future. It sets goals. It imagines the person you want to become. Normally, these systems cooperate. But the moment a task creates stress, they disagree. Your rational brain says, let's finish the report. Your emotional brain whispers, let's just watch one video first. That video becomes another, then another. Not because the videos matter, because relief matters. Your emotional brain doesn't care about next week's deadline. It cares about making this moment feel less uncomfortable.
Part 4. Your brain rewards the wrong choice. Here's where things become even stranger. Every time you check your phone, your brain gives you a tiny reward. A notification, a funny clip, a new message, something unexpected. Each one releases a small burst of dopamine. People often call dopamine the pleasure chemical, but that's not quite true. Dopamine is the chemical that makes you chase rewards. It tells your brain, do that again. Now, compare two choices. Finish an assignment. Reward, maybe next week. Open Instagram. Reward, right now. Your brain evolved in a world where immediate rewards usually meant survival. Food, safety, opportunity. So when forced to choose between a reward now and a reward later, your brain naturally favors now. Psychologists call this present bias. It's one of the biggest reasons procrastination feels almost impossible to resist.
Part 5. Why smart people procrastinate. Here's something most people don't expect. Some of the biggest procrastinators aren't lazy. They're perfectionists. At first, that sounds backwards. Wouldn't perfectionists work harder? Not always, because perfectionism doesn't say, do your best. It says, don't begin until you know it'll be perfect. And perfection never arrives. So the safest option becomes not starting. It protects your ego. If you never finish the book, no one can criticize it. If you never launch the business, it never has the chance to fail. If you never take the exam, you never have to discover what your limits actually are. Procrastination becomes a shield, not against work, but against disappointment. Part 6. The habit that builds itself. The first time you avoid an uncomfortable task, your brain feels relief. That relief becomes rewarding. The next time you feel the same discomfort, your brain remembers the shortcut. Avoid it. Scroll. Watch something. Do anything else. Every repetition strengthens the habit. Until one day, procrastination feels automatic. Not because you chose it, because your brain learned it. The frightening part is that every time you delay something important, the task usually becomes harder. The deadline gets closer, the pressure increases, the anxiety grows, which makes your brain want to avoid it even more. It's a loop, and every lap makes escaping it more difficult. Part 7. Borrowing from your future. Think of procrastination like borrowing money, except instead of borrowing cash, you're borrowing peace of mind. Every time you delay today's work, your future self inherits the bill. More stress, less time, greater pressure. Present you feels temporary relief. Future you pays the interest. And eventually, future you becomes present you. Part 8. Can you escape it? Here's the good news. If procrastination is a learned behavior, it can also be unlearned. But most people try to beat procrastination with motivation. The problem is, motivation is unreliable. Psychologists have found that action often comes before motivation, not the other way around. Waiting to feel like it is a trap. Instead, shrink the first step until your brain stops seeing it as a threat. Don't write the entire report. Write one sentence. Don't study for 3 hours. Study for 2 minutes. Don't clean the whole house. Put away one item. The goal isn't progress. Not yet. The goal is proving to your brain that starting isn't dangerous. Every tiny action weakens the emotional barrier. Every small success rewires the habit. Slowly, the discomfort loses its power. Part 9. The person you're becoming? You'll become the future version of yourself you've been imagining for years. The question is, what kind of life will that person inherit? One built from thousands of tiny moments of courage? Or thousands of tiny decisions to wait until tomorrow? Your brain will always offer you comfort. That's what it evolved to do. But comfort has never written a book. Comfort has never started a company. Comfort has never changed a life. Growth begins the moment you do something your brain is trying to avoid. Because procrastination was never proof that you were lazy. It was proof that your brain was trying to protect you from discomfort. The problem is, your brain can't always tell the difference between discomfort and danger. You can. And every time you choose to begin anyway, you teach your brain something it was never born knowing. That the things worth building almost always start with a moment that feels uncomfortable. And perhaps that's the real secret. The life you've been postponing has been waiting on the other side of that first difficult minute all along.